Aloha, namaste. Welcome again to Krishna book reading number 23. My name is Janapati Das, and I have been doing these videos. If this is your first time joining, welcome. Please let me offer my respects to you, to all of you that are tuning in, and those of you tuning in for the first time, and those of you tuning in every time. Thank you for enjoying the stories of Krishna with me. And what I thought I'd like to do, because I'm going to be chanting here, doing some kirtan in the beginning here, and I started reciting a little bit of Lord Chaitanya's first prayer, but I didn't get it quite exactly right. So I'm going to read it for you so that you can hear it in its fullness. And it goes, "All glory to the congregational chanting and singing of Krishna's names, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years together, and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This congregational chanting of Krishna's names is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon, the life of all transcendental knowledge. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge, and it increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious." So, as we were reading these, the congregational chanting, as we call it kirtan or sankirtan. Sankirtan is when you have more than just one person. Kirtan is the name of the actual san, means many, many people, more than two people. And we talked about why we do that, because it cleanses the heart of the dust. And the dust is this enviousness of Krishna, the enviousness of God, of which we are in the material world for this reason. We are desiring to play the role of the supreme enjoyer instead of being the enjoyed. In other words, the servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, engaging in loving service willingly. And it is the prime benediction. So we've also said that this hearing and chanting, simple hearing and chanting of Krishna's names, is the prime benediction. It enables us to fully see our unity as all of God's children. Right now we're dealing with a lot of like tribalism and conflict between different parties, party mentality, team spirit, this us versus them kind of idea. This party is right. They feel like they're standing on this side of the cliff, and they're saying those people over there are deplorables, or they're, whatever they call them nowadays, like the sugar puff or whatever it might be. I can't remember what snowflake. That sounds like sugar puff. Snowflake, and the other side saying, oh, those people are this way and they're animals and da-da-da-da, and we're the right party, and if you're with us and you think this way, this is right. But it's all based on a very false concept of bodily identification. In other words, this feeling of like, that I am the body, I am the mind, and we are not spiritual, but we are just, everything is dealing with the designation of the body is also who we are and what we are. We're black, we're white, we're women, we're a man, we're tall, we're short, we're fat. All these things that are labels on our body is what really ultimately, the identification of that is what divides people. So, I am a white supremacist, I'm a black supremacist, whatever it might be. These are all false concepts. They're not who we are. They're all having to do with the idea we have of our body and of our mind. So this chanting, this hearing and chanting of Krishna's names is like a salve. It's like a cool moon rays on a burning fire, the burning fire of material existence. And it enables us to taste the nectar, taste the happiness of understanding who we are and what our relationship is with each other, but also with God. And that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to hear and chant Krishna's names. I'm going to offer my respectful obeisances to my spiritual master, Jagaguru Siddha Swarupananda Srila Prabhupada, and I offer respectful obeisances unto my spiritual grandfather, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaurabhakta Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaurabhakta Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Nitai Gaur Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Krishna Haribol. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, we're continuing in our reading of we were reading Mother Yasoda binding Lord Krishna. So, this is a really wonderful story. As you remember, because of, the situation was, just recapping, that Mother Yasoda was in this loving, intimate relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. She has this relationship as Krishna being her child. and she was feeding Krishna and was so happy with, so she was churning butter. As we were saying, they were the people in Vrindavan were Vaishyas, or merchants, or cow herders and agriculturalists, and they had lots and lots of milk products, and so they were she's churning butter, making the best butter, right? And she was thinking of Krishna, and she was singing to Krishna just like a mother would do, and with a regular child, but she was just enjoying this relationship of paternal love for her child. And what happened? Well, the boil, she had some milk on the stove, and it started boiling over, and she's like, oh, I got to get that so it doesn't burn. So she put Krishna down on the ground and went to go deal with that. Of course, Krishna didn't really like that and got really mad. Krishna, of course, acting out the pastimes of being angry, the sort of false tears. So babies sometimes, they're not, you have like hot tears and cold tears, right? You have hot tears are tears of anger, and cold tears of tears of sorrows. Krishna had these hot tears, crocodile tears, because they're not really. Anyway, he is like angry, and he got angry, so he decided to cause some mischief, and he threw a little piece of some rock and broke the pot. Went over to, I'm going to go sit over in the corner and eat the butter and be mad at my mom because she put me down and didn't feed me, right? So actually the funny thing was, in the beginning he got her attention because she wasn't feeding him, but she was like, oh, you've got to feed me first and then churn your butter later, right? But then after she put him down and he broke the pot, he went off, and she came back and realized, oh, my child is, caused these things. I see he's feeding the monkeys again, and so I got to go find him and make sure he doesn't get in trouble more. So he was going there, chasing around, trying to find, and he found Krishna over in another place feeding. That's where he found him, feeding monkeys, sitting on a wooden mortar. And he was like, oh, and he started running around, and she was trying to catch him, and that's where we left off. So this story of it's really, really, really sweet. Normally a situation of a child breaking stuff and would be like a cause of alarm, but with Krishna, it's very beautiful and wonderful and funny. Being the topmost well-wisher of her child, Mother Yashoda began to think, if the child is too fearful of me, I don't know what will happen to him. So every mother, at least a loving mother or father, doesn't really want their child to be afraid of them in total fear. Not completely. So she's like thinking, mothers especially, because they don't want their child to be like afraid of them. They want them to be loving them back. Mother Yashoda then threw away her stick. In order to punish him, she thought to bind his hands with some ropes. She did not know it, but it was actually impossible for her to bind the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mother Yashoda was thinking that Krishna was her tiny child. She did not know that the child had no limitation. So although the Supreme Personality of Godhead is what is known as Satchit Ananda Vigraha, as well as us, we are eternal forms of bliss, knowledge, eternity, and so eternal forms of bliss, form, and knowledge. So we do have a spiritual form, and the Supreme Lord also has a spiritual form, but that doesn't mean when we think of a form in the sense of the material world that it has a limitation. You know where the edges are, you know where that things have a beginning, middle, and an end, as does everything. But with the Supreme Lord, as well as we learn about the identity of the self, the Jivatma, we are both Satchit Ananda Vigraha, although our spiritual form is very minute compared to the Supreme Lord, like a spark in a fire. The Lord is complete in his Satchit Ananda Vigraha. It's much more larger than what we are. So Mother Yashoda could not bind the Supreme Lord unless the Supreme Lord wants to be bound. And that's something we had talked about last time, that this idea that speculators and yogis and speculators are atheists oftentimes want to capture the idea of God with their mind, like, show me God. They want to demand God show themselves to them. But if you turn your back to somebody, you don't really see them. And similarly, the Supreme Person is a person, is a personality. It's not like we can go over and pick up a rock off the ground and say, I've captured this rock. But the rock is inanimate. But if you go to like a dog or something and you try to capture the dog may run away because it has its own will. There's a living entity there. Similarly, there's a Supreme Person doesn't want to be captured. He doesn't have to. If you don't want to, have a loving relationship with God, God will not show himself to you, because that, the idea of love is a thing of free will. It's not only free will, but you need, if you love someone and you willingly take the experience of trying to get to know and love that person, then they will love you back. I mean, it's not always true in the material sense, but in the sense of in spiritual life, it is true. If you want to know God, if you want to have a loving relationship with God, and you make that endeavor to want to know him humbly, then he will make it possible for you to come to know him. And so Mother Yashoda had a loving relationship with Krishna, and as we see, Krishna didn't allow her, but then finally decided to allow her. And because he allowed her to capture him, he was able to be captured. But speculators cannot do that. So nobody can capture God but without having a loving relationship, and God willingly wanting to let himself be captured in love by his devotee. Mother Yashoda was thinking that Krishna was her tiny child. She did not know that the child had no limitation. There is no inside or outside of him, no beginning or end. He is unlimited and all-pervading, and beyond time and space, beyond the material energy. All things emanate from God. All things come from God. So in the sense that we think of things in the material world as a beginning, middle, and end, and a limitation, the idea of spirituality spiritual life, spiritual energy has no limitation, no end. And as we learn in the Bhagavad Gita, never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these people, all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. It shows that our eternality exists. There was no beginning of our existence, and there is no end of our existence. The only beginning and end of our existence is in this material realm, in this body, in this particular body, or whatever particular body we've been in the material world. Indeed, he is himself, the whole cosmic manifestation. Still, Mother Yashoda was thinking of Krishna as her child. Although he is beyond the reach of all senses, she endeavored to bind him up to a wooden grinding mortar. But when she tried to bind him, she found that the rope she was using was too short by 2 inches. She gathered more ropes from the house and added to it, but at the end she found the same shortage. In this way, she connected all the ropes available at home, but when the final knot was added, she saw that it was still 2 inches too short. Mother Yashoda was smiling, but she was astonished. How was this happening? So Krishna's having a very kind of fun with this. She gets all the ropes. She keeps tying ropes, but the ropes keep ending up being 2 inches too short to bind him. So it's just kind of fun, The Supreme Lord has a great sense of humor. It's not all whoa, sitting on a stone throne, send you to hell. No, God has a great sense of humor. In attempting to bind her son, she became tired. She was perspiring, the garland on her head fell down. Then Lord Krishna appreciated the hard labor of his mother, and being compassionate upon her, he agreed to be bound up by the ropes. So Krishna loves his devotees, and he could see that she was trying really hard to make, and this was the loving kind of relationship she wanted with her child. So he was like, okay, all right, I'll just give up just to let it happen, right? Very nice. Krishna, playing as a human child in the house of Mother Yashoda, was performing his own selected pastimes. Of course, no one can control the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The pure devotee surrenders himself unto the lotus feet of the Lord, who may either protect or vanquish the devotee. But for his part, the devotee never forgets his own position of surrender. Similarly, the Lord also feels transcendental pleasure by submitting himself to the protection of the devotee. This was exemplified by Krishna's surrender unto his mother Yashoda. So even the Supreme Lord loves to surrender to his devotee, but the devotee just wants to surrender to Krishna. So it's like a competition of love. Krishna wants to benedict the devotee with so many things, and the devotee doesn't want anything but to be in loving service of God. This is our actual natural state of what we've forgotten. Krishna is the supreme bestower of all kinds of liberation to his devotees, but the benediction which was bestowed upon Mother Yashoda was never experienced even by Lord Brahma or Lord Shiva or the goddess of fortune. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as the son of Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, is never so completely known to the yogis and speculators. That's what we were saying before. Never known. But he is easily available to his devotees, nor is he appreciated as a supreme reservoir of all pleasure by the yogis and speculators. After binding her son, Mother Yashoda engaged herself in household affairs. At that time, bound up to the wooden mortar, Krishna could see a pair of trees before him which were known as Arjuna trees. The great reservoir of pleasure, Lord Sri Krishna thus thought to himself, Mother Yashoda first of all left without feeding me sufficient milk, and therefore I broke the pot of yogurt and distributed the stock butter in charity to the monkeys. Now she has bound me up to a wooden mortar, so I shall do something more mischievous than before. And thus he thought of pulling down the two very tall Arjuna trees. So he wants to I'm going to create more havoc still, because this is kind of fun. There is a history behind the pair of Arjuna trees. In their previous lives, the trees were born as human sons of Kuvera. Kuvera was a demigod. His position as the demigod of treasury, of money and wealth. And he had two sons, and their names were Nala Kubara and Manigriva. Fortunately, they came within the vision of the Lord. In their previous lives, they were cursed by the great sage Narada in order to achieve the highest benediction of seeing Lord Krishna. This benediction curse was bestowed upon them because of their forgetfulness due to intoxication. This story will be narrated in the next chapter. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 9th chapter of Krishna, Mother Yashoda, binding Lord Krishna. And so, I think, I don't know. I'm wondering if I should get into this next part here. I mean, it's a really important point to understand this idea. Once again, I'll just bring it up again, that this idea of being captured. Krishna makes himself available to the devotees who want to love and serve him. And in the spiritual world, there are countless number of living entities who are doing so. And the material world is a small portion of the kingdom of God, I guess you could say, God's material energy, where people do not want to serve him. They want to be their own lords and masters, or try to attempt to serve, but it's sort of like being a fish out of water. You're not in a natural state because of your nature. Your nature is Jivatma, it's a spiritual entity within the body, within this body. The body itself is dead matter. It's dead. Matter of itself is dead. The only thing that really makes it animated is that the presence of living entities within different bodies, whether they're plants or animals or insects or humans or demigods or whatever. Otherwise, the matter is just dead and is constantly changing. as they've done in the studies in California, they've done these studies to study molecularly, atomically, the body makeup, the makeup of the body, and they found that there is a constant change of energy, of matter going in the body, so that things are being changed over. The body is completely 100% changed over to a new body, atomically and molecularly, every 3 to 5 years. So your skin, you'll replace your skin within a month. Your skeletal system is completely changed over. All the calcium and whatnot, all the chemicals within the body, in the spine, are also changed over every once a year. And this is continuously going on. So you can actually have up to anywhere 7 to 10 different bodies within a lifetime. And you see that in the growth of your body. The living entity moves through the body, and the body is changing, and starting from a baby body to an older body to youth body to an older body to an old man. And then finally, when the living entity leaves, the body starts to break down. And it's actually the laws of thermodynamics show that the presence, as the living entity leaves, things kick back into place. The very complex makeup of chemicals within the body suddenly, very quickly deteriorate. And you can see that if you've ever witnessed a dead body. It's like within a short period of time, it starts to smell, it starts to rot away, and it starts to break down. All the other living entities and bodies of bugs and worms and stuff like that go to town and try to enjoy themselves on your carcass. It's like, and then it breaks down, and what it does, all the chemicals go into the earth, and this is happening constantly. We're eating food, we're taking in that matter, it's metabolizing into the body. The cells are taking on the energy and then the nutrients from whatever we're eating or the air we're breathing, and takes it in, replaces the body. The cells send out waste through the forms of urine or feces or sweat, and this goes on our whole life. And the only reason why it doesn't break down, why the body doesn't break down, is because there is a presence of we are present within our body. We're present within this body. So if something happens and we get kicked out of the body, we immediately see that. So people are very, very attracted sometimes to other forms of, you may be attracted to the girl's body, she's very beautiful, or a woman may be attracted to the man's body. It's not because of the body, it's because of the living entity that's present. Because if that person died right there, and you say, oh, there's that body, there's the body, go ahead and enjoy it. Isn't it really beautiful? You'd be like, ugh, because it's dead. You're gone. You're not attracted to it anymore. So this is a very important point of understanding these things. And we're going to get into this next part of the story of the trees and they were demigods. These demigods, the living entities who were these demigods, got cursed by the sage Narada to become trees, which in most cases of curses, it's a benediction by great saints like Narada Muni. That kind of curse was to teach them a lesson, but also give them the opportunity to come into contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is the ultimate goal of life. So it was really actually a benediction on the part. And we are going to get into that story next time, but right now what we're going to do is stop and chant some more. So thank you very much. Thank you. Haribol. See you next time.